Introducing the Micropulse Model B5, intended primarily for scientific use. The I.C.E.S Model B5 is the most advanced and flexible PEMF device ever. Its mass is small, although it is not really intended to be used as a portable device. It's powered by 5-volt USB or external optional battery power pack. It has 4 independent outputs, so you can run 4 coils or 4 arrays. It has 16 levels of intensity control, with 8 preset but millions of programmable protocols that run from frequencies of 0.5 to 300 pulses per second. There are many internally designed protections for voltage and temperature to protect the device, and it has a display. Let's take a closer look at your new Model B5. To begin with, let's have a look at the user interface. It has a high contrast OLED display. Just to the right of that, there's a green LED which indicates each pulse with a single flash. To the right of that is a small rectangular red LED. A brief flash indicates that it's changing modes automatically and internally, or if the red LED comes on solidly, that indicates there's a system fault. The device also has 4 user interface switches, which are high-quality physical tactile buttons requiring 250 grams force for activation. There's a yellow, a blue, a white, and a red button. The B5 automatically stores the last settings that you've put into it for each protocol, allowing you fast access to your own personalized protocol settings. The B5 has many special features built in, including auto run, internal fault protection, automatic button deactivation during operation, and many other features. Now let's take a closer look at the B5, the physical input and output ports. Power input is through 2 micro USB ports. You should only use one at a time. The other port is just a spare. They are identical, so you can use either one. I've just added 2 in case one gets fouled or damaged. You don't have to send the unit back right away. You can just keep using it, powering it through the other port. The outputs make the B5 much more flexible for all kinds of uses. There are 4 of them. They are identical, synchronized, independently powered and controlled I.C.E.S power ports to drive 4 sets of I.C.E.S coils. Or you can drive 4 of the new 2x2 coil arrays, or you can use any combination of coils and arrays. Let me tell you a few things about the Model B5. It's not just some product that you can buy. This is more of a personal mission. What I've tried to do with the B5 is to build a powerful scientific instrument. It can be used for professional applications, including basic and clinical research, but it's also available for personal use. It's intended for experienced I.C.E.S users who already know how to use our products, such as the A9, the P2, and others. But the B5 is a serious scientific instrument. It's not really child-proofed. You need to be sort of intelligent to use it. It's currently being used in scientific research, in traumatic brain injury and concussion, type 1 diabetes, inflammatory signaling, heart disease, and cardioprotection, orthopedic injury, chronic pain, diseases of kidney and liver, and the reduction of scar formation, among many other experiments and scientific programs that I have going on at the time of this recording. There's a bit more information you need to know about the B5 before you decide whether or not you want to buy one. Each B5 system is built to order. They are not mass-produced. Each one is hand-built, programmed, calibrated, and tested by me. I use absolutely premium electronic components. Each system is fully warranted against flaws in assembly. The firmware upgrades are free. All you have to do is mail it back to me and I'll reprogram it. And B5 systems will be available, built to order, and only in limited quantities. It'll take me about a week to build each one, and I'll ship it right away when it's done and tested. And you need to know that the personal model B5 systems use exactly the same circuit board and firmware PEMF protocols that I'm using currently in professional scientific versions that are in experimental use in laboratories all around the world. The scientific research model of the B5 is actually called the MCP-48 when it's used for animal experiments. Ongoing animal studies use exactly the same B5 technology, but it's been adapted for use with animal cages. As you can see in the figure, there's a large flat platform, and you simply put the animal cage on top of it. The I.C.E.S coils are embedded in the white platform below the animal cage. These systems use exactly the same circuit board and electronics and I.C.E.S protocols as the Model B5. Special programming is available for scientific studies. Mice and rats are treated with the I.C.E.S protocols, with the cage placed on top of the coil platform, and I have many current studies underway which include diabetes, heart, kidney, liver, inflammation and autoimmune signaling, scar formation, and more. Let's have a look at the B5 features in detail, starting with the power supply. It uses two identical micro USB power ports. These are rated for 2 amps. It does not require nor does it use USB data. It just uses the USB power points for power. These should be rated for at least 2 amps, but the running power generally is only about half an amp. And this depends upon the intensity setting that you use. Higher intensity does require more current. You can use an optional external battery pack that you'll have to buy separately. Generally, any of the units that are rated for 10,000 milliamp hours or larger will work well. The ultra-high energy efficiency of the B5 means it's still portable. It'll still fit in your pocket or your purse, and you can carry it around and use it whenever you want to. The B5 features precise, digitally controlled intensity control. There are 16 digitally regulated intensity levels in the B5. In the chart below, you can see how these compare with the A9. The lowest B5 intensity setting is 0. If you set the B5 to 4, that's equivalent to an A9 setting of low, whereas, for example, if you set the B5 to 11, that's equivalent to the A9 setting of high. In the column on the right, I show the magnetic flux slew rate in units of kilogauss per second at 25 millimeter coil spacing, from a very low 100 kilogauss per second all the way up to 1500 kilogauss per second, which is the same as a single output from an A9 when set to X. The B5 features quite a lot of flexibility in coil configuration. You can use individual original I.C.E.S coils of any size, and you can use them in any combination. You can also use the new 2x2 coil array, which is shown in the image on the right. This allows you to treat multiple areas simultaneously. Because the power is not divided between coils, you can stack coils or you can stack arrays to achieve greater intensity and penetration. You can use any combination of coils or arrays. You can use just 1 or 2 or 3 or all 4, and you can plug them into any of the 4 output power ports. Larger mats and long arrays of coils can be built using up to 4 of the 2x2 coil arrays. The B5 has 8 built-in protocols. You can adjust all 8 of them to get exactly the protocol that you want. When you start up the B5, it starts with a protocol called B5. That's the standard protocol that we ship each B5 with. It has 6 modes, or you can think of each mode as a certain frequency pattern, and you can adjust each of the 6 modes from 0 to 255 minutes. The A9 has the original 3 modes that are currently available on any A9 device. The P2 has 4 modes that are from our legacy devices, also fully adjustable. The Omni-1 Protocol has 8 modes that have been extensively beta tested. The Schumann Protocol uses the primary and the first 4 Schumann harmonics, also each one adjustable from 0 to 255 minutes. Or if you want to, you can use the hold protocol, which allows you to select and hold a single frequency from 0.5 to 300 pulses per second. The wave protocol allows you to ramp between 2 frequencies, where you can adjust both the low and the high frequency, and the ramp time. And then, of course, we have the matrix protocol, which is a specially designed user protocol. In addition, you can select Reset to Default, and it resets all of the modes to their original settings. I'll give you a brief overview of each of the B5 protocols. The first protocol is called B5. When your model B5 is delivered, it is set right onto the B5 protocol. You can change to any of the other protocols easily every time you power the device on. Each mode is a pattern of pulses. A protocol is made up of a series of modes. You can adjust the time each pattern runs before moving to the next pattern or mode. At the end of the final mode, the device cycles back to the first mode. The B5 protocol cycles through 6 modes, each of which has an adjustable time. It starts with 5 pulses per second, which are bipolar, which means positive and negative pulses alternating. Mode 2 is 100 pulse per second bursts. Mode 3 is the same, but it has an opposite polarity. Mode 4 uses 10 pulses per second, once again bipolar. Mode 5 and 6 are also positive and negative polarity bursts of 100 pulse per second. If you want to, you can easily change to the I.C.E.S protocol. The system will remember any setting that you've put into it and will restart with your last setting. The I.C.E.S protocol that's programmed into the B5 is identical to the original model I.C.E.S protocol except for the random pulses in some of the original I.C.E.S units. This randomization has been removed from the B5 to allow for precise, repeatable protocol definition for scientific purposes because, in the end, this is really designed as a scientific device. At the end of the final mode, the device cycles back to the first mode. The I.C.E.S protocol cycles through 3 modes. It starts at 5 pulses per second for 10 minutes, and then it puts out 100 pulse per second bursts in positive polarity for 10 minutes, followed by 100 pulse per second bursts in negative polarity for 10 minutes. Then it returns to mode 1 and repeats. You can also switch to the P2 protocol. This is the classic micropulse I.C.E.S protocol that was programmed into all of our devices prior to the Model A9, such as the Alleva Wave, the Somapulse, the Magnafix, and several others. As always, the B5 system will remember your last choice, and it'll go to that choice every time you start the unit. This protocol is identical to the original model P2 protocol, except that there is some variability in the legacy models for the rest time, but you can set any rest time that you want. The P2 protocol cycles through 4 modes: 5 pulses per second, 100 pulses per second positive, 100 pulses per second negative, and then a rest mode. Because all of the modes can be set to 0 minutes, you can use any part, or even a single part, of any protocol. If you want no rest mode, you simply set that mode to 0 minutes. The B5 will skip it. This allows you, for example, to select only one part of any protocol that you can run repeatedly by simply setting all of the other modes to 0 minutes. The Omni-1 Protocol is a new protocol that I developed with extensive beta testing among our current Model A9 customers. This included scientists, clinicians, and athletes. It started off with a classic micropulse I.C.E.S A9 protocol, but then it continues with a series of specially selected pulse patterns that I initially based on lower frequency subharmonics. Honestly, I don't know why these seem to work, but our beta testers reported to me that they think that this system was about 15 to 20% more effective than the original A9 protocol. I tested quite a number of Omni-1 protocols, numbered Omni-1, Omni-2, Omni-3, Omni-4, and Omni-5, but it was only the Omni-1 protocol that people consistently reported was better than the original A9 protocol. So, some A9 systems shipped since the latter half of 2016 have been programmed with this new protocol, the Omni-1, rather than the original A9 protocol. The Omni-1 protocol cycles through 8 different modes, and on the B5, all of these times are adjustable. It has a 5 pulse per second bipolar mode, followed by 100 pulses per second positive, then 100 pulses per second negative polarity. The next 5 modes have frequencies that were based on these subharmonics, including 3.92 pulses per second, 7.14, 10.42, 13.70, and 16.95 pulses per second. At the end, it cycles back and starts again with 5 pulses per second. You can use any part or all of this protocol by simply adjusting the time for each of the modes. The B5 also includes a Schumann Resonance Protocol. This protocol generates the first 5 Schumann resonances, which you can read about at the link on wikipedia.org. This link will be live on the PDF version of this presentation. You can also read more about my thoughts on Schumann frequencies by going to the link located here. That will also be live on the PDF version of this presentation. The Schumann frequencies seem to work pretty well. I've beta tested them extensively. I hypothesize this is because they are in a range that is physiologically meaningful for the electromagnetic modulation of paramembranous ion flux, which I believe operates over a fairly broad range of pulse frequencies in the range of about 2 to 40 pulses per second. It just so happens that the Schumann protocol cycles through 5 modes in this range. Each one is adjustable. You can adjust them from 0 to 255 minutes, so you can use any part or all of the first 5 Schumann resonances. Mode 1 is set to 7.82 pulses per second, which is the Schumann fundamental frequency. Mode 2 is 14.3 pulses per second, Mode 3 is 20.8, Mode 4 is 27.3, and Mode 5 is 33.8 pulses per second. You can also use the B5 system to hold one specific frequency. You can choose from anywhere from 0.5 to 300 pulses per second. The B5 will remember your setting, and it'll go back to it the next time you power it on. When you run in this mode, the B5 will generate a continuous series of pulses at this one specified frequency. There's a list of selectable frequencies at the following link. The wave protocol allows you to ramp between 2 frequencies over a specified period of time. You select the lower and the higher frequency, and you set the time for the ramp between the 2 frequencies. As always, the B5 system remembers your settings, and it will always come back to those when you power it up. If you choose a different protocol, it'll still remember your wave ramp settings, and it will come back to those if you go back to the wave protocol. This allows you to use a range of frequencies that ramp up and down automatically. The frequencies will ramp up in 10 even steps, starting from the first frequency that you specify, moving towards the second frequency that you select, and then back again. This cycle will continue indefinitely, ramping up, and down until you turn the device off. The wave protocol allows you to simulate important brain and other neural patterns that tend to fluctuate over known ranges of frequencies in a known time period. For example, you can program the device to simulate alpha waves or delta waves or any other brainwave pattern. The selectable frequencies are the same as for the hold pattern, and they are listed here. The matrix protocol is included for people who work with Dr. George Roth. The use of this pattern is intended only for use with the matrix repatterning system. This protocol has fewer adjustments because it is intended to allow consistent clinical application within the matrix repatterning system. The matrix protocol cycles through 8 modes, but the times are not adjustable. The B5 also has a reset to default mode. The reset option is always the final protocol on the list of available options for you to select on the B5 menu. If you get confused or if you just want to start over, you can always use this function to reset the B5 system to its original settings. This will wipe the memory clean, so the next time you turn the power on, the system will start at the B5 protocol with all the standard time settings for all the protocols. All of your protocol adjustments will be forgotten and will be reset to the original settings. If you select Reset to Default, the B5 will do the following. It will internally wipe its memory clean, reset all settings to their initial values. instruct you to turn the power off, and then it will wait for you to turn the power off. It will not allow any other action. When you turn the power back on, the B5 will be reset to all of its original settings. Thank you for taking the time to learn about the new Micropulse Model B5. I'm Bob Dennis, inventor of the B5, and I'm the person who will be assembling and testing it for you. Here is some additional information on the Model B5. The standard frequencies that are built into the Model B5 are shown below. There are 100 pulses per second positive and negative polarity bursts, the Omni-1 Frequencies, the Schumann Resonances, and a list of selectable frequencies in the range of 0.5 to 300 pulses per second that you can choose for both the hold and the wave protocols. I would also like to put forward for the record my thoughts on Schumann frequencies and their use in PEMF products. For technical reasons, I remain skeptical that any PEMF products can resonate with the Schumann frequencies of the Earth ionosphere system. Now, that is not to say that these frequencies do not work well. In fact, so far as I can tell, they work just fine, but not for the reasons that many people think. My skepticism is based upon one opinion and two facts. In my opinion, the references on the internet to Schumann resonances in PEMF therapy were first put forward by marketers to lend credibility to their products. It sounds cool and earthy, but these claims are based upon made-up, supposedly NASA experiments that never happened. Now, I could be wrong about this, but if anyone can send me one paper showing that Schumann frequencies, as tested by NASA, resonate with the Earth ionosphere system and have biological effects, then I will retract this statement. Please do not send me angry emails simply stating that there are thousands or tens of thousands of papers on this. All I'm asking you to do is send me a single paper that shows, beyond question, that a PEMF device actually is in resonance with the Earth ionosphere system and is having a biological effect. My skepticism is also based on two physical facts. Number one is that the phase of the Earth ionosphere Schumann wave is not detectable by any PEMF system, because detection of Schumann resonances requires large and highly specialized equipment that more or less fills a room. So even if you were able to generate a precise Schumann frequency, which is fairly easy to do, commercial PEMF systems wouldn't know whether or not they were in phase or out of phase with the Schumann resonance. So just like trying to push a child on a swing, if you're not pushing at the right time, you're not in resonance. It would be very easy for any commercial PEMF system, even at the right frequency, to be in anti-resonance, canceling the Schumann waves, as it would be to be in resonance. The second physical fact is that Schumann frequencies vary slightly with changes in the Earth ionosphere cavity geometry. So over time, that precise Schumann frequency actually varies, and it's not always equal to 7.82 Hertz. So if you have a non-phase locked open-loop pulse generator, even if it's generating a precise frequency, if the Schumann frequency of the Earth ionosphere system is changed a little bit, you'll end up with a beat frequency, which is equal to the frequency of the system minus the frequency of Earth divided by 2. This will generate a much lower frequency amplitude modulation, and you can see an example of exactly how this works at the Wikipedia link below.